Hello guys, hope you're well. Welcome back to part number 2 of our QualityWings 787 tutorial. We are now getting ready for pushback, engine start, taxi, takeoff and climb out to cruise. Welcome from part number 1. I hope you come from part number 1. If you just skip to part 2, then either you are just watching this because you want to see the takeoff, or you know how to set up the aircraft but don't know how to fly the aircraft. But anyway, welcome to part number 2. We're going to get ready for pushback. And in fact, everything is actually ready since part number 1. So once GSX asks you to remove your parking brake, you can remove it. But if you're on VATSIM, make sure to request push and start. But if you're running AI, also make sure that it's clear around you, which it is. We can go and release our parking brake. So GSX will begin pushback now. Love how those vehicles are in the building. So it's just said we can clear to start our engines. Simply, you're going to get all the hydraulics up and running. So you get the primary ones on, and the demand electric pumps on, and the hydraulic main electric pumps and the center ones on as well. Auto, and those are on. Then you want to get all your fuel pumps on. You can check down this display to see if you've got fuel in the center. We've got 9.2 tons, so we can get the center pumps on as well. And obviously our beak light was already on. And then we can now start the engines. The 787 is very clever, not clever, but it's very cool in the way that you can actually start both engines at the same time. So click start, both engines in the start position, and you just whack in the fuel both at the same time. And you can come down to your N2 display and it says auto start, and your engines are now starting up. Timer wise, you can start a timer now if you would like. The 787 has an automatic timer anyway, so it is fine. So if you want to start a timer yourself, that is okay for your block time, but it will start a timer for your flight time anyway. So when N2 rises and ETC start rises, N1 will soon come alive, like so, and our torque or TPR will come through soon. And so there we go. There it is. Nice. There we are. Pushback is on the synth line now. Just waiting for the pushback to finish, and then we can get the rest of the startup stuff set up. So engines are running. That's in the green, which means we're all good there, and you can just hear the air conditioning come back alive. I'm not too sure if I've muted this in a bit too much here, if you can't hear it or not. I can turn it up if you guys would like. Well, actually, it's not a live recording. It's a recording, but it's not live, so I guess I can't tell what you'd like until I read the angry comments in the comment section. Right, GSX is telling us to set parking brake, so we're going to set the parking brake like so, and there we go. We have a good engine start. You can now disconnect. That's a nice thing to know from GSX. Okay, so now our engines are running and it's all good, and the only warning that we now have on our display is the TCAS being off. In the US, you would turn up to XPD, what's it called? It's XPDR in the 787. It's different in other aircraft. It basically starts an X. In US, you'll set that on your taxi, or TA only. I'm not too sure actually now I think about it, but basically we'll keep it on standby in the UK, or basically everywhere else other than the US. So that's good, the TCAS being off. Oh, I think it's changed things because we've messed around with it, but whatever. APU running, that does not need to be running anymore because we've got the engine started up. You can see the generators all up and running, so that can go off. APU can shut down. Awesome. Okay. So GSX is now disconnected. We can go over to the checklist page. No, we don't. We've got it on this side. So anti-ice is not needed. Recall. Well, it should have just been the TCAS, but we messed around with it, so it's fine. You can actually cancel or recall your stuff down here. So if you cancelled anything, you can just rebring the recall back, and nothing's there, so that's been checked and it's all good. Auto brake is down here, so you can set RTO, rejected takeoff. That means if we need it, then auto brake will kick in for that. Flight controls. So now we go over to this side and we click system page. We go over to the flight control page, and boom, you have your aircraft on the display. So you want to go do your flight controls. Basically means it tests you've got full movement. So you want to go full left, and there we go. You can see all the arrows on the ailerons are up, and these white, well, basically the spoilers are up. Not all the way. They won't be all the way up for ailerons, and on the right side they'll be down as well. And then you want to test your right. Same again, basically the opposite. So arrows at the top and the bottom on this side, and spoilers will come up as well. Obviously not all of them at the same time. And then you want to test the elevators. The elevators are down here, all the way down. Left and right elevator goes all the way down and synchronizes as well. It's not out of sync. And on the way all the way back, they go all the way up. And then you got test yaw and rudder. So rudder full right, that goes all the way to the right, and then rudder all the way to the left, and that goes all the way to the left. Awesome. So our trim needs to be set to 5. So you can see, if you double click the CG, make sure you've got the current CG of the aircraft. It is currently 4. You want to change that to 5, of course, so just scroll until it gets to 5.00 or whatever it has given it to you. Calculation for takeoff gave us a flap 5 departure, so you want to go down to flap 5, like so. Now I'll set the flaps 5. We can go to the flight control page, just click the ND to go back to your big ass display. Right, flight controls have been checked. Ground equipment is all clear, so we can tick that now before taxi checklist is completed. And in fact, flaps have been set, so our before takeoff checklist is now complete. We can get rid of that. We can go and set up the ND on taxi for our takeoff. Let's just go and get onto Alpha first. So let's go and remove the parking brake, and we'll give the engine a little spool. I've just realised I'm not flying a VATSIM. If you are, your frequency panel is down here. You can set 122.8 or whatever frequency is given to you, and your squawk code will be here. I'm totally sorry that I forgot that. If you're watching this video and you wanted to see how to do it on your pre-flight video, I'm sorry I forgot to show you that, but hopefully you should have been watching this video, this part of the video, so there you go. Obviously in taxi you kind of want the taxi light on, so get that on as well. And typically when I'm in the apron, I don't normally like turning on the turn-off lights because there'll typically be people walking around, and if you have a turn-off light into their direction, it could be blinding, or it could be blinding if they stare at it, but hopefully they don't. But now we're exiting the apron, you can get them on. Okay, let's clear it left, and on the right as well. That guy's taxiing down Bravo. We'll just skip ahead to Alpha here. Typically, I would assume they'll take you to Alpha actually. Just slow ourselves down. See our ground speeds here. Get yourselves down to about 10 knots or below, and that'll give you a safe turning speed. Make sure we are flying the 787-8, which is kind of short, so don't have to give us a big turn. But let's say it's flying the 787-10, you got to give yourself a good distance in terms of how much spacing you're going to give yourself. So now you can go and speed up in taxi. On a taxiway like this, you can give yourself up to 25-30 knots of taxi speed. If it's a straight out of taxi, if you're in the apron, then max it out 15-20 knots. Look at that, a BAA 380, beautiful. Anyway, so the taxi, as everything's set up, there we go, the TCAS warning's back. I wanted that to be back. I thought I just broke the aircraft then, confused it. So yeah, the taxi is going to be kind of simple, like I said, just taxi down Alpha to our runway for departure. But we can now set up the ND a bit more. Click the traffic button here. That'll bring up your traffic display. Obviously our TCAS is off, which is warning you about. So, well, it's not warning, it's just information saying your TCAS is off, we can't show you traffic. That is okay. On the other side, I will do the same, so I'll get traffic turned on and terrain as well. So your FO would see terrain. If you're flying into some mountainous terrain, I would put your terrain radar on this side as well, so you can obviously see it. But we don't. I'm going to be having the weather radar on this side. I'm not going to turn it on just yet, because the weather radar, if turned on too long near around people, it gives them brain damage, basically, which is, well, not very good. So I'll have that off until we get to the runway for departure. It's safe to have it on for a a few moments, but if you just constantly have on the weather radar at stand or near other people, then that's kind of bad. Obviously, it's pointing outwards in front of us, so everyone inside the aircraft is okay. If you click the little menu page in the top right of the ND, it'll bring up more options. You've got a VSD. This is the vertical speed display. You click that, it'll show you a vertical speed profile up until climb. If you zoom out, I'll zoom out on that as well. It should do. There we go. There you go. You've got vertical climb profile until top of climb. I don't have that on this side. It's kind of useful for some people, but I don't find it that useful, so I have it on that side. Just so if I do need it, I can just pan over and go, oh, okay, that's why we're holding 6,000. We've got a restriction there. That's look at the flight plan and scroll through, which is okay. And, oh, hello. Let's put on the brakes here. There is an A320 just cutting ahead of us. Oh, that was a close one. Okay. Hello, welcome. Right. And if we go back, we can turn on the data. Data basically gives you data about your waypoints, the time of arrival of your waypoints basically, which is very useful. And the VORs you can turn on as well. Obviously, once again, it's useful information, and you can do exactly the same on the side, so data and VORs. That's how I like to have my NDs all set up. There we go, now we can go and continue our taxi behind the Airbus A320. Right. Our taxi is basically, well, everything up until takeoff is basically done. So what I'm going to be doing, I'll just skip the video here until we get to the runway. Okay, welcome to Alpha 3, hold short of runway 27 right. Been taxiing behind, in fact, the Airbus A320 for most of the time. We will have to wait for it to take off. We'll just hold here at Alpha 3 for a moment. It's holding. It's not hold short for some reason. It's going to be a little confused that I could skip or delete the aircraft. Do I have to? Don't think so. Seems to be okay. Okay. We'll just release the brakes here and just let the idle throttle just carry us onto the runway. Typically IRL, they'll make you wait behind the departing traffic, so we'll line up and wait on the 27 right, wait for it to get out of the way. No longer need the airport map, so we can zoom out. I have this typically on 10-mile range, and this side I have it on a 40-mile range. It's currently on the 80, you can see here what range it's on, so we'll put it down to 40, and we'll line ourselves up onto 27 right. In fact, because of the low torque that's been given to us today, we'll go via Alpha 2, or Alpha 1, basically the lineup you'll get from Alpha 1. We'll go all the way up to here. I don't think it actually makes any difference. I just heard that take-off thrust, which is nice. Just go and line up and wait. If it does a turn, which is like away from our route, we can take off pretty quickly, but if it looks like it's flying the same sort of route as us, basically straight on, slightly left, then we're going to wait for a bit longer because of, well, turbulence, I guess you could say. So we'll keep it coming around all the way, like so. And we'll just hold it here. So, we can bring it down, bring it out of the HUD, I guess. The HUD is super useful. The people who do not like the HUD, why? The HUD is very useful in so many ways. You don't have to look down here, look at the HUD, and you're looking at the scenery at the same time. It's very useful. It could be in the way, I guess you could say, but it's, well, let's forget about all lovely scenery and let's make sure that our flight for our passengers is all good. Right, we're sat on the runway. I'm about to take off, so we need to get our landing lights on. We need to get the strobe light on. I'm about to take off, and we're on an active runway, so strobe light needs to be on. Taxi light can go off. There's no need for it once you've got the landing lights on. And T-gas can go to TARA, so basically scroll it all the way to this very right. And now you can tell your traffic radar has come alive. Cool. That's given us about enough time for the aircraft to get out of the way, the one that just departed, so we can go and depart ourselves. Very simple to set takeoff thrust in the 787. Typically, you'll click this little button down here in the real world. That says toga, but in a flight sim, you don't really have your hands on the throttle. You're like in a 2D space. There's a little screw here. It's got a keybind or a click spot, and if you click that, that'll set toga. But you don't do that straight from start. You set about 50%, like so. That's not 50%. That'll be around about 50% on the N1 this is. And as soon as they're stable and both come up to 50% at the same time, you can click your toga button. And that's the toga, enable auto thrust, and it'll go up to your thrust set. For today it is 79%. So we're just trying to keep centerlining the rudder as well. And thrust is set, airspeed alive 80 knots. Lovely. So remember, once we reach our V rotate speed, we will bring the nose up. We'll rotate back with the yoke. V1, rotate. So let's do a slow rotation. That's how you rotate in the 787, the Dreamliner. It's just a very smooth rotation, like so, and you're up in the air. So once you realise that you've got positive rate, so you're climbing, you can say positive rate, gear up. The gear will come up. Well, it won't come up when you say gear up. You have to actually press G or whatever keybind you've got, or you can actually click the gear itself to go up. And we've enabled ANAV and VNAV before, and now it's gone into ANAV and VNAV mode automatically for us, which is nice. We're going to be enabling the autopilot straight away, so we can go and click that in, like so. And because of the autopilot, the HUD doesn't need to be out anymore, like so. And now we are up in the air. So, Heathrow departures are very silly. Where they set 6,000 or 4,000 feet, 6,000 feet holding. Our cruise altitude is 380. Let's go set 380. And if we click this button, we just click it, you can see, you see this arrow? Click it, that arrow's gone. If you click it once more, arrow's gone. When you click this in, it will cancel the next, basically, altitude restriction until it's all up to 380, or whatever cruise you've got, which is nice. So we'll climb all the way up. Right, we've gone way past our clean speeds, so bring the flaps up. Once you pass flap 1, you can bring up flap 1. Once you've gone past flap up, you can bring all the flaps up, basically. Safe speeds. And you can tell the elapsed time has started. The clock has started, which is nice. And up to 250 knots for our cruise up to 380. 380? 380. Zoom out in this range. We can do it on the weather radar if you would like. The weather radar used to like destroy the 787. It'll give you a crash to desktop sometimes, but I think it's fine now. I think it's okay. So you can actually turn it on. You can actually turn it on at the runway if you'd like, if you know it's going to be bad weather, but I don't think the weather radar works with the newest Axis Sky at the moment, so we're not going to get any display, which is a shame, but yeah. Transition altitude out of London Heathrow is 6,000 feet, so we're now passing that. We can go and click in the standard button, so that'll click standard, and like I said earlier, in the first video, it'll all be cross-checked, it's automatically put in as standard, and we can go and scroll this over to our current heading. The Boeing is different to an Airbus, so if the autopilot decides to kick out, or the NL decides to kick out, it'll go to the current heading selected. So make sure you should set your heading to your current heading of your flight. If you're going to do an overnight flight and you're going to go to sleep as it's cruising, it doesn't really matter. The aircraft shouldn't come off, and if it does, then, well, I'm very sorry that your aircraft has gone thousands of miles away from where you wanted it to go to. But yes, you should typically set this. On an Airbus, it will go into manage, and if the aircraft decides to kick out, it will go into the current heading anyway. So just make sure you can set this heading to whatever heading the aircraft's going to, or a rough heading. Set it to, basically, you want this arrow, this white arrow, to be inside of the pink, like, trough, I guess you could say. I'm not too sure exactly what it's called. In fact, I'll just explain that. We've just gone past 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet is the typical altitude you would turn off your landing lights. So landing lights can now come off. like so. Awesome. So, that is our climb, or initial climb, sorted. So we set standard, we set the lights off, flaps are up, we can go over to the checklist page, and we can tick off after takeoff because the flaps and landing gear are up. Next checklist is our descent checklist, which is actually going to be for our next part of the video. So that's all sorted. That's awesome. So what I'm going to do now is go through the step climbs. You can do this on the ground, you can do it on the air, you can do your step climbs wherever you wanted to do it. I did explain them on the first part. I'll be doing it in the on this part of the video, just because we don't have to nothing else has to wait for us to be finished once we're in the air. So step climbs can take a while, depending on how quickly you can find the waypoints if you scroll past the waypoint for what step climb you want to go and do. So, if I bring up my sim brief, I just want to see if it's got a step climb. It does. Wonderful. Okay, so it's just going to give you a load of waypoints with the flight level. At some point, it's going to say 400. And that 400 is going to be at this waypoint. VOR, Yankee Bravo Charlie. So we want to go find Yankee Bravo Charlie in our flight plan, and we want to be at 400 at that waypoint. So Yankee Bravo Charlie is here. So the way to set a step climb is /40,000, like so, and then an S. The S stands for step, and there you go. It steps, and then the rest of the flight plan will be 400. That's the only step climb we've got on our flight today. That's all we need. And obviously it says 370, that's our descent into Baltimore. So yeah, 400 to be our step climb. PMDG, if you set 380, and then when it reaches the 40,000 feet step climb, it will set this to 40,000 and it will climb. In the QualityWings, if you set 380 and you reach your 400 flight level, step climb, it won't step. You must set your final altitude in your MCP for your step climb to work. So if you had multiple step climbs up to 43,000 feet, you should set 43,000 feet, even though your initial cruise altitude is 370, for example. It must be set to your final cruise altitude. I don't know if that's how it works IRL. I don't think IRL actually has auto step climbs, in fact. I'm not too sure on that exactly. But yes, make sure you set your final altitude, otherwise your step climbs will not work. If you set 40,000 feet now and you're still climbing and you're worried about if it will climb straight to 40,000 feet, it will not. It will follow your VNAV path. Your VNAV path will tell it to go to 380 first and not 40,000 feet. So that is okay. Go to the progress page. Now we've taken off, we can see more accurate stuff here. So we can see we're going to be arriving at 8.9 tons of fuel with at 18:31 Zulu, 7:30 UK time. Awesome. I like to say to myself, once we're past 20,000 feet and we've got stable climb, basically the aircraft, there's no turbulence, it's all smooth, it's all lovely outside, I would like to turn off the seatbelts to auto, like so. And there we are. So, we can just set this heading up to what our current aircraft heading is. And literally, as a flight simmer, you can actually just leave this until top of descent now. There's nothing you can do, or nothing that you need to do. If you've got ATC, they might give you directs, so you just go and set the direct. If you know how to fly a Boeing, then it's very simple to do direct. If you don't know how to fly a Boeing, a direct is simply select the waypoint you want to go direct to. In fact, let me just do this. Let's say I want to go direct. Let's say ATC told us to go direct Ignis. Click the waypoint, it'll automatically fill it up in here, and then just click it to whatever you got next to. If the ATC say, well, not ATC, if you want to clear up a route, let's say you didn't want to go to the waypoint Lannon, then you would click the waypoint before and then override it with Lannon, and then Ignis will stay there. Lannon's now gone. I do not want to do that, so I'll just put it back. So that's how you can clear waypoints. Clearing waypoints is a lot easier in the Boeing than the Airbus, but also directs. You just click the waypoint you're going direct to, and then whack it in there, and then that'll be the next waypoint. But I don't want to do that, so I'll just erase. Yeah, like I said, if you don't want to do it actually, click erase and it'll undo everything. Okay. So reset this heading. We've got a lovely headwind / crosswind knot. So we're gonna be a long flight. Be a lot shorter if we were flying from Baltimore to Heathrow, but yeah. So it's not. It's gonna be a long 7-hour, 20-minute flight. So that's all I need to say in terms of takeoff, taxi, cruise, and climb. I hope you guys have enjoyed this part 2 of the video. I'll end off with some cinematics because that's nice. I'll see you in the descent planning, approach, landing, and shutdown part of the video in part 3. Enjoy the cinematics, and bye bye.